To have you join me on a fresh edition of Law and You, a program where we'll look at the nitty-gritty about some concepts and how they apply to the laws of the land, looking at the legal perspective. Today, we will be looking at a fresh topic which will center on the impeachment of the number one office of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. By that I mean the number one citizen, and that happens to be the office of the president. What are the processes? How rigorous are they, and what does the law, or what do the laws say concerning such offices, and most especially as it pertains to impeaching the office of the president. And looking at this, we will be discussing this topic with a custodian of the law, a legal practitioner, Matthias Obayuana. Thanks for joining me, Matthias.
Thank you, Philip, and good afternoon, listeners.
My name is Philip Omo-Gyupon, and quickly we're going to be looking at this as it applies, because just recently we had a challenge where the National Assembly, a few members of the PDP decided that they're going to impeach the president as a result of the insecurity challenges that Nigeria has been faced with. And they said that before they embarked on the break, and we just don't know how or what page they will be on now as they resume. But let's look at the nitty-gritty of that office, what it applies as it pertains to the law. What is the legal perspective or the reason for which a president can be impeached? Is it just for any reason, or what could be the weighty circumstances that could amount to the impeachment of the president?
Well, the provisions for the impeachment of an erring president is as specified in Section 143 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1919, as amended.
Okay.
Which provision is very elaborate and specify the various steps to be taken. A president may be impeached if he is alleged or is found to have committed an act of gross misconduct. Which act of gross misconduct has been defined by the same Constitution to mean a gross violation of the provisions of the Constitution. You recall at the time, Senator Urogide, if I'm not mistaken, noted that the purchase of Tucano jets by Mr. President, when that money was not appropriated, there was no budget for that kind of money that he went to spend, that was an impeachable offense because of the violation of the Constitution. Once the Senate or the National Assembly have passed a budget, the president must work with the budget. You cannot make any expenditure outside of the budget. You cannot go arbitrarily to whatever that catches your fancy. You want to invest in it, you want to go purchase it when it's not budgeted for. If you do so, it's the violation of the Constitution. That's why sometimes when the president or the executive want to make any expenses, there's always send a supplementary budget. If it's not covered by the existing budget that has been passed, they must send a supplementary budget. If you spend without it being budgeted for, it's an impeachable offense because it's a violation of the provisions of the Constitution.
Okay.
So that was an act of gross misconduct. So they saw the feelers at that initial stage, and when the point was noted that this is an impeachable offense, political actors started to muse. Well, why will you say that against the president as if the president can do no wrong? But that was a glaring violation of the Constitution. That passed.
Okay.
Now, the same Constitution has provided that any other act that is in the opinion of the National Assembly to be an act of gross misconduct, can also be an impeachable offense.
Any other
act. So, if in the opinion of the National Assembly,
this case, it's not defined.
It's not defined. So you may say, well, maybe it is a little arbitrary or ambiguous or vague. They gave them the opportunity to just use their discretion to consider anything that to be impeachable. But again, it is also within the confines of the law. If the initial definition is any violation of the Constitution.
Okay.
So when they say any other act, I believe that it could be interpreted to also mean any other act that is rubbing off on the Constitution.
Yeah, that has to do with the breach
of the Constitution. So now we have seen over that the president has carried out a presidential appointments that have been lopsided against the provision of the Constitution that provide for federal character, even spread of power. The appointment have been lopsided. That was another signal of his violation of the Constitution. National Assembly was also docile.
Quiet.
They did nothing about that. Then he went beyond that. Section 14 of the Constitution says the security and welfare shall be the primary purpose of what? Of governance. So if a president of government cannot secure the lives and property of the people,
that's a breach.
Whether can you provide for the welfare for the people? It's a breach of the Constitution. And we have seen over time how insecure this country has been. We have seen the extent, the porousness of our borders, how they have opened the borders so wide, such a way that there is a railway line from Nigeria to Niger Republic. They are even now buying vehicles for them now. You know, whereas there is no railway line linking the commercial cities in this country. You know, linking it together in such a way that people can drive, you know, go safely. Now by road, people can no longer go by road. Even the railway line, they have even some of them that created Kaduna, Abuja. We saw how the terrorists went to kidnap people, and we knew what happened. They decided to release them in trickles after they have gone to release their men from Kuje prison for whatever hidden negotiation that was carried out. You know, so nowhere is safe anymore. That by itself is another constitutional breach. So if they are suddenly woken up from that slumber that they have been in, for me, it's a good call, but it's too late in the day.
Okay.
Because the tenure of the Mr. President is just barely a year, you know, for him to leave. So if you set up that motion now to impeach him, before you run through the entire course with the other political underpinnings that goes with it, and the maneuvering and shenanigans that goes with the process,
he must have concluded his term.
He must have concluded his own term. So for me, they are trying to save their face. Let it not be seen that we kept quiet so that our generations and yet unborn and leaders or that other women in Nigeria will not point fingers at them to say, where were you doing? You are a representative. If we donated power to you to represent us, you got there, you saw these things going wrong, you kept quiet and did nothing. So they want to save their face to say, oh, well, we are not doing so now.
For posterity's sake.
For posterity's sake. So say better late than never. It is too late for me.
Okay, but let's look at the aspects.
It is too late in the day because let's ask for the constitutional steps or provisions to be followed. The first step, if you must, for information and education, the first step, there must be a notice of that allegation of gross misconduct against Mr. President, which notice must be signed by not less than 1/3 of the members of the National Assembly, that is the House of Rep and the House of Senate. And when that notice is done, they will send it to the Senate President. The Senate President will notify the President within 7 days. And then also send a copy of that notification to all the members of the National Assembly. 14 days thereafter, the President, then they have to reconvene, and then there will be a motion.
Within which the President must have replied?
The President could reply and may not reply. You know, so they have a right to reply to that notice or may not reply. Because ultimately there will still be a hearing. There will be a motion that will be, brought before the National Assembly, which motion will be sent to the various state assembly, to seek their opinion whether or not to investigate the allegation.
It's a long procedure.
Now, the various assembly will pass it by 2/3, at least all of them put together, 2/3.
Not less than
2/3 must pass it to say, yes, let them investigate this allegation. If they fail to meet 2/3, that terminates there. They cannot investigate it. If they meet the 2/3, now they will now move the motion formally to investigate the allegation. The allegation will be investigated. The notice will be sent to the CJN to convene a panel,
of 7 members.
Of 7 members, men and women of integrity who are not
character.
questionable character, who are not members of any political party, who are not civil servant or public servant, to investigate these allegations. If they investigate the allegation, they have about 3 months or thereabout to send their report. If they do the investigation and find that the allegation is not founded, it dies there.
It dies there.
If it is founded, they send it back to National Assembly. National Assembly now, we have to now move another motion, to adopt or not to adopt the resolution that was being passed by the panel.
Yeah.
And then the both houses must also muster not less than 2/3 to say we adopt this resolution. So if they do, president goes. If they don't, it dies there. So before they run through this process back and forth, it appears to be even stronger than constitutional amendment. The one they started to amend the constitution, I don't know what has become of it. There are certain provisions they put on ground to amend the constitution. Oh, they have passed some in the National Assembly. They are sending it to the House of Assembly. I don't know where they have got their 2/3 now, approval all round, for it to go back to the National Assembly for any amendment to be done. That is already, running its own course. We don't know where they can succeed running that course within the tenure of Mr. President, because if they fail to conclude that process, it dies.
Okay.
All the money they are putting into the process, everything goes to ruin.
Let's look at what you said.
How can they run through all of this within a quarter or less than a year?
Okay. Let's look at what you said concerning the security woes of the country.
Yes.
That is also serving as a breach to the provisions of the Constitution as it pertains to the office of the president.
Yes.
Now, do you see the office of the president as entirely responsible for such woes as pertaining to insecurity? Because we also have governors, and if you so say that has to do with entirely the responsibility of the president, don't you think the Constitution would have gone further, or there could be other provisions of the Constitution where the president can be excused from such responsibility?
The president cannot be excused because he's the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So he was a general in the army. So for me,
not about his person,
but
about the office.
Yes, the capacity that we expect him to possess, even as a general in the army, occupying that office, he should have been more tactical. He should know better what to do.
But that's not spelled out by the law.
What commandment to issue.
But that's not spelled out by the law.
If it's not spelled out by the law, if you are the commander-in-chief, and the commander-in-chief cannot command the armed forces to secure Nigeria, what is he doing there? We are saying now that if you were a male civilian, what could I say? Well, he's a civilian and we don't know what to do. This is a military man, a retired military person, general, who want to know what to do and how to command the officers to do their best and rescue Nigeria. He has been docile. He did nothing with his state of insecurity all over.
You can't entirely say that he did nothing.
He did nothing, my brother. If he had
done
something,
situations
Nigeria would have a better
we've had situations where year in, year out, the budget is being approved, and that's as a result of his responsibility to make sure that the budget is approved, give assent to the bills and all that, to make it a law. So he does that. And also he set up meetings and reshuffles the cabinet, also reshuffles the service chiefs. He did that. So how can you say that he's
the parameters to judge whether Mr. President has done well or not, right? Is section 14 of the Constitution, the security and welfare of our people. That is the main reason why he's in government. The main reason why he said want to come and serve the people, why he's there, the security and welfare. So go by the parameters and ask an average Nigerian, do you feel so secure in your neighborhood, in your city, in your state, in your country? Do you feel so secure? If the answer is yes, then Mr. President has a pass mark.
Okay, you already
if
said.
If the answer is no, then it's a failure.
Okay, you already concurred that the aspect of the processes, looking at the processes at which the number one office will be impeached. You've already concurred that it's rigorous.
It's rigorous.
And
they ought to have started this thing earlier than this.
Yeah, so it's not timely.
It's not timely.
All right.
So what simply just doing it's first saving.
So do you see this?
Shame on them.
So do you see? So do you see this as dead on arrival?
For me, it is dead on arrival. Before you finish that process, the man would have been gone. And we are in a country where people are not patriotic. Their loyalty is to their political party and not to Nigeria.
Okay, would you
so
say?
by the time this thing goes out, you will find political party.
Okay, would you say there
People
should have
coming
been
to say,
more
"Where
laws?
is our president?"
Would you say there should have been more laws to make it flexible enough to tackle such situations, given the present circumstance?
I'm not quarreling with the provisions of the Constitution.
Okay.
Because it is not an easy task to have somebody that everybody voted for
Yes.
to that office, to just have him removed so easily.
So it has to go through that
yes, it will be
process
so glaring
in order to guard against abuse.
Exactly, against abuse. It will be so glaring to everyone. Even when they eventually remove him, he can go to court to challenge the removal if the process was not, the process at the outline was not followed. He cannot challenge his impeachment.
The impeachment?
No. He can challenge the process that led to his impeachment, because if there's no fair hearing given to him, he can challenge that. So if they're giving
and if he challenges that and he had his way, it means that the impeachment will be taken off.
Can be nullified.
Okay.
So if they follow the procedure to impeach him, he cannot call it, oh, why did they resolve to impeach me? They all have what they have done. Their resolution to impeach me is not sufficient. He cannot quarrel with that. He can quarrel with the procedure. Did you follow the procedure to impeach me? Yes, he can quarrel with that. Did you give me fair hearing? Did you hear me out? He can quarrel with that. If they are giving him fair hearing and giving him and follow all the procedure, he cannot quarrel with whether there is sufficiency of grants or no constitution of grants.
Okay.
You can't quarrel with that.
Thank you.
Now, before they can do all of this, what I like, if you look at my analysis, National Assembly ought to have known from the very beginning that this Mr. President has been violating the Constitution all the while. Look at the lopsided appointment. Look at the security architecture. They're all lopsided. So the best brains in the military, the best brain in the ministerial appointment that they have made, and all the government departments and all of that they are appointing people in, are they only from one part of the country?
Okay.
Are you a president of northern Nigeria?
Thank you. I'll come back to you.
So you are a president
I'll come back to you.
Entire Nigeria. So you are. I want you to also be lopsided. Have you made lopsided appointment? Have you done things that is showing that the man is kind of partisan? You know. And the way the manner in which I carry on the governance should have been enough for us to see, look, this is many red flags.
Well, in case you're just okay, I'll come back to you. In case you're just joining us, it's Law and You, and I've been having a chat with a legal practitioner, Matthias Obayuwana, and the topic is on impeachment of the office of the president. And looking at what we have here, it happens to be that a lot of issues that have galvanized the whole processes, which seem to be rigorous, but this is, of course, to guide against abuse. I'm your host, Philip Omo Gupon. We'll take a short break. Glad to have you join us again. I still have the legal practitioner with me, Matthias Obayuwana. Now, let's look at the aspect of the law as it pertains to a notice given, or brought by the National Assembly. Now, is there a law that says that it must be entirely the National Assembly that will give the notice and submit it to the Senate President within 7 days, or anybody can do that from members of the public?
No, anybody cannot do that from members of the public. What the pressure groups can do is to wake up the sleeping senators and sleeping members of the House of Reps. Wake them up, because they are our representative. Because by the time we came together in a social contract to donate our powers to a few to represent us, they should do our bidding. They should fill the post of people that they are representing. But rather than going there, they become loyal to a political party. So what the pressure group should do is to call your senators, call your members of the House of Reps, and ask them questions. What is going on? The country is going adrift, and you are keeping quiet. Your loyalty, number one, is to Nigeria and not to a political party. So, Mr. Senator, Mr. House of, member of the House of Reps, this is what we want you to do. So, whatever they must do must be done through their members. They can't send that notice by themselves to the Senate President. No. All the members of the National Assembly must, by not less than 1/3, sign that notice.
Okay.
And forward it to the Senate President to say, look, we have an allegation against Mr. President for gross misconduct. So no other person can do that apart from members of of the National Assembly.
Okay, you spoke about the appointments made by the president as being lopsided.
Lopsided.
I want to believe that you were talking about the previous times, because recently when the president had to rejig the service chiefs, you know, there seems to be a balance now, because we also have General Loke Irabo, who is in charge of defense from the south, and don't you see that bringing a balance?
Just that one. What about the others? What about the other? The defense chief, air chief, naval chief, national security advisor. You know, what they call him, IGP. You know, custom. Name all of them.
If you say IGP, that's not part of the service chiefs.
It's not part of the service chief. You know, the president have a prerogative to decide who to appoint to that position.
Yeah.
And he has carefully selected people from his region. And that's marks of nepotism. And nepotism...
Okay, you're talking about the appointments generally.
Yes, generally. And nepotism by itself is a breach of the Constitution. The federal character says, don't do that.
Did the Constitution strictly say that? Or you're talking about the conventional practice?
The Constitution is very clear on balance of power, even spread of power.
Does it not give the discretion to the president?
If the president has the discretion, the president, instead of that discretion, must exercise it, keeping in view federal character. If he's a member of a political party, and perhaps he seems to assuage the feeling of his party, do you have all members or all northerners in the political party? No. You also have some from the south. So to say that, oh, I'm looking for square pegs in square holes, I don't know square pegs in the south, you should try and balance it. Now it was not balanced. That by itself is nepotic and it's a breach of the Constitution. You know, the only person that will commend in the National Assembly with all due respect and all modesty, is Senator Urogide. He made his points earlier. He said, look at what Mr. President has done. This is an impeachable offense. People came and knocked his head. When he arrived in Benin, people came and knocked his head at the airport. Oh, it's our president. It's our president. Until Nigerians begin to see this country as ours and view it from a patriotic point of view and not to party loyalty as they are doing now, we will not come up from the dungeon. Okay,
in a minute, what do you see as a way forward as we look at this precarious situation surrounding the impeachment of the president?
The only way forward is this. I have my fears that by the time they commence this process, if I'm not even aware of any notice being sent anyway, they just keep grumbling and say, we want to impeach Mr. President. They are not sending any notice yet. If they are really serious about it and Nigerians all feel that Mr. President needs to go, send a notice and let everybody move fast about it. The so-called 7 days, 14 days, 3 months, if they are really serious about it, they can get it done.
Thank you.
But I believe that it's not possible. Because I know the way they feel. Even from the political alignment as we speak now, for those who are seeking political office, we can see some aged, we can see some who have been there spoiling for seeking the office, just like Mr. President sought office severally. We can see the new and energetic ones. And we are seeing some of our youth still say it doesn't matter whatever it is, whether it is this or that, it is Emilocon.
All right.
It is our time.
Thank you. I think we'll discuss that some other time.
People are still drumming.
Yes, we'll discuss that some other time. We are pressed for time.
So we require our people to look beyond party loyalty and be patriotic enough and see how we can rescue this nation.
Thank you so much, Matthias Obayiwana, for taking our time to be part of this discussion. Well, just to let you know that the opinion made here is not the opinion of independent television, but the opinion of the maker. This is where we call it a wrap onto this edition of Law and You. We'll do this again, same time next week. I'm Philip Omo Gupon. Goodbye.